Hello, everyone. You are with Madre and Bienestar CCC and Siobhan Hoover of Warrior Mother. My name is Ana Rosa Vicentino. This is Ali Cortez, and we're so happy to be with you. And today, Siobhan will actually be introducing our themes.
Yes, so today we're going to be talking about women of color and how oftentimes we are not diagnosed with mental disorders such as depression or anxiety. And we are going to touch on some self-care practices that you can use at home.
Fabulous.
That is an awesome theme. So much to cover, so much to say. And you know me, I always like to be like, why? Why is that? So I love this theme, and let's start off with that. What do you think? Why is that the situation?
I think it's structural because as women of color, we're meant to take care of everyone else. So we're not taught to think about ourselves and how our mental state is, because we're just go, go, go. And how are you doing? How are they doing? Like everyone else except us.
That's just it. And I think that a lot of times it's misplaced because, we're like, oh, we're having a bad day and we just suck it up. A lot of times, you might have a day where you do allow yourself that time to kind of sit down and take a deep breath. But sometimes there's just not time, or, the family demands, work demands, those kind of things just simply don't allow for it. And, the other thing is asking for help.
Oh.
I'm guilty of it. How about you?
Yeah.
Very much. Very much. I mean, I think that's something that we've talked about, and that's what part of my healing journey is, to ask for help and also acknowledge that, like how you said, Anna, it's like there's a lot of systemic issues around this, because I know the times that I'm hearing more and more women that they are asking for help, but they're being misdiagnosed, or they're saying, oh, it's just, you're just being hormonal, right? It's just your hormones, right? It's just, but they don't do the next procedures to identify really what's going on. It's like, oh, here's your Tylenol, you just need more self-care. Yeah, you just need more rest. You're just really stressed. But the thing is, like, I've been stressed for a long period of time. Generations behind me, the women of my life have been so stressed out that, there must be more going on. And so instead of the internalized message of like, well, no, I'm just exaggerating. So then it just kind of reciprocates over and over and over. It's like a rinse and repeat, like, oh shoot, something's going on. Someone invalidates it. And then I invalidate my own system, my own like symptoms, my own body, my own thoughts that are expressing something completely different. And then I go to the doctor or to, someone who's an expert, and they're like, no. So you validate that, message of like, you're just exaggerating. You're just overthinking it. Estás loca.
Right.
Te lo estás imaginando. So yeah, there's a lot of layers to all of that.
I took a deep breath because I feel like a lot of times the way that I'm feeling, it's not only what I have gone through, but also I feel like I'm healing something in my lineage. And it's clear to me that there's certain parts that are coming from myself, but also like whenever I get into this like PTSD mode, which unfortunately I have been for the last week and a half. I mentioned during our last episode that I was attacked by a dog, and for some reason, like the unexpected nature of it, or I don't know what it was, it just triggered a bunch of my PTSD. And there are very clear things that for me I'm going through right now that I know it's my stuff, but then there's other stuff that I'm like, whoa, where is that coming from? And I'm like, okay, that is maybe from my abuela, maybe my great grandmother, and so how do we then deal with like this backlog, I want to say, of lack of healing, because I want to say that those cycles can end with us if we take the time, but if we wait for there to be time, there's never going to be time. We actually have to make the time and carve out time. And that's the hardest part for me, is that it feels like everyone else and everything else is always more important than what I'm going through.
Those are the cultural expectations that, we have to break. I know as a mother and, having a spouse, in certain cultures, it's like, hey, you're strong if you can do it all. And it's like, well, wait a minute, what? Do we have to? So, I love that, and trying to break these, the generational happenings that are accepted, and then not to mention, you were saying that in your head, it's like, all of these other things, but as women, we tend to have this constant running list of to-dos, or we need to buy toothpaste, and if you have children, it's like, okay, and oh, so-and-so needs new shoes, they grew out of their shoes, and oh, and the gardener, and all of these things that you constantly think about, aside from work and aside from having traumas that happen. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I was really sad when I heard about it. But you're right, it can trigger so many other things, but to be conscious of that is difficult for me. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but it's really difficult for me to see it and to recognize it, and then say, oh, okay, here's what this is, and I can compartmentalize it here, and then deal with whatever else is going on the backside. So there are different forms of, self-care practices that can be used. And a lot of times it's not just about retail therapy.
or Western medicine, right?
Sometimes.
Sometimes it helps. But
do not get in the way of me and my Target.
Target.
Touch the Target. No, but yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And yeah, it's for me, it's what I'm learning more and more, where I'm really infusing a lot of the medicine that I'm learning is that self-validation. Because when I self-validate, I get in a way angry, and anger is a good thing, like you need some fire,
but
because
they taught us it's not.
Right.
And it's a control mechanism.
It is. And the more you internalize, because like there's anger, right? And then it can turn into rage. So that's, we talked about it in like another episode. It's like rage is now like all of a sudden like this forest fire. But with anger, you could do something with that. That is something you can, there's energy in there to say, I'm going to self-advocate. I'm going to be consistent on telling that doctor, no, I know my body. You are someone I see for maybe 30 to 45 minutes
at most,
for like maybe twice a year, maybe if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to have to advocate to say, no, you're going to do more. You're going to have to do more studies on this. I know that something's not okay, and not be like, do the appeasing. We're like, okay, doctor, like, sure. Thank you. Or, it could be a dentist, or, your eye doc, anybody that's just like looking into your body.
Well, and I think that brings up the point of Western medicine, and that Western medicine is not always the answer for us, and that we need to look to our elders and see what they're recommending. Because I know I was just talking to an elder this morning about what I'm going through right now, and her advice was, for the next 3 days, wake up at sunrise and, make sure your shoes are off and touch the ground, and like be with the earth, and share with her your feelings and your thoughts. And, no way that advice would ever come from a medical doctor, but it's so needed.
Yes. Oh, shall we touch on this? So it's so important to advocate for yourself, right, at your doctor's office. But, I really love my primary care physician, but when anything is ever wrong, he's like, do you want me to write you something? Do you want me to, prescribe? Because when they go to school, they're not trained to, take a look at the whole body and like holistically view what is actually going on. But, personally, I feel like we need to tap in so much more to the spiritual side of our health. And something like grounding can be so rewarding, so rewarding. And that's something, so I mentioned we're talk about self-care practices relating to a book that a good friend of ours wrote, Kiki Ely. She's quite amazing, but it's like the complete guide to self-care. And the components include, physical, intellectual, emotional, social, and spiritual. So all of these things that you should touch on, and the acronym for that is PIES.
I love that. It makes it easy to remember.
Yeah. So it's like taking a slice of pie, and every day, touching on each one of these will really help. So the P in physical, meaning, okay, what does that look like for you? Is that going outside and touching your feet to the earth and receiving all of that good juju and that good energy? Is it working out? And let's say you're angry, and so punching a bag or doing some ball slams to really release any of that stale energy that you might feel in your body. And then sometimes maybe just sitting with yourself and really feeling all the feels that that might not feel great, and allowing it to be processed. Sometimes you just feel things in your body and you're like, oh, like I don't even know what's wrong, but I don't feel right. And a lot of times it goes on ignored because the days are busy and things are happening. But to really sit with it and breathe it out or cry it out or whatever that is for you physically, it's just so important. So I don't know what you two might also do for the physical component of self-care.
Yeah, go ahead, Carla.
No.
Oh, I kind of want to go back a little bit to the anger part, because like it does do with physical, like to release. What you're saying is so true. Like we are a vehicle, right? We are like this filter, and we got to filter everything, process it, unpack it. And to take the time to do that is so important, because if not, like they say, the body keeps score, like the body will manifest it in another way. So like noticing, for me, I'm always like noticing, where is it trapped and where is it building? And I have to really do something about it. And I take it very serious. So when I feel that anger and I need to process it, and I don't do that, oh, I'm going to pin it anymore. I'm like, I'm going to process it in a way that I need to do this now. And in the physical way is you can go for a walk. Or what I did the other day, like I felt it in my like jaw, and I was like, whoa, because I'm in a place now where I'm like, I'm going to feel it all. Exactly what you said, Sean. I'm going to feel it all, even if it's so unpleasant, and I'm not going to dissociate from it, which is something that we've been conditioned to do over and over and over and over. And so I noticed it. And in this conversation that I was having, I was like, excuse me, I'll be right back. And I went outside, I squatted, and I just started doing the belly breath, where I was just like, release, but allowing it to really be released from the jaw. And like, I literally put up my tongue out, and I was like, just, that lion's breath, like, throwing it out next to a plant. And I was like, help me. It was one of those, I was talking to, my Madre Tierra. I was like, help me. This can't be mine right now.
Yeah.
What, I need to release this, and I just need that support. And I just felt so connected. I felt I wasn't alone as I'm processing anger, because I myself have been scared of my own anger. And I even like look at it and see like, it's telling me something. It's saying, Allie, we need to mobilize. We need to change something. We need to exit something. Like this is starting to transform into like a threat response, and it's linked to something traumatic. So let's address it now. So in that process, and before a couple years ago, I'd be like, this is silly. Like, I'm not going to just start squatting in the middle of, next to a tree and just like, look like I'm hyperventilating. But I just, at that moment, I was like, no, I come first. I'm not alone. I have a tree next to me. We have each other. This breath is good. Let's regenerate it. Let's recycle this. And I just felt so much better. I was able to come back to that conversation and have a really, really good conversation that was really healing and took a whole different direction. So I didn't suppress it. I really did release it in a way that was so different, but it's because I think my mentality was like, no, this is serious, and I'm going to take this really serious. I'm not going to suppress it. I'm going to release it. what do I have around me, and just go for it. So that was kind of a way that I just, kind of recycled that in a way that ended up being a healing moment.
That's so powerful because it takes that moment of realization that you're surrounded by life, right? Because I think as human beings, the way we're brought up, we're not necessarily taught to respect, the trees and the plants and, even the animals around us, because we think we're superior. And we don't realize we're actually in a web of mutuality with each other and that we help each other. And just like, we do so many things for this world. Without the trees, without the plants, without all of these animals, we would not be here.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was thinking so powerful too. And it's all an energy exchange, and being respectful of that. Something that we need to be more mindful of. And I love, Allie, that you were like, wait, I'm just going to address this right now. A lot of times women in general will put it on the back burner. And so I think it's so important that they hear you with how they might be able to process something.
Yeah, no, thank you. And like what I realized is in that anger, it wasn't so much about what was happening in that situation. Like triggers can come in so many shapes and forms, and so it wasn't the context of that conversation. It just triggered a feeling that was connected to being trapped in a whole different context, but that came up, right? And so I could have really unleashed that into that context, into that space. And at the time I didn't know. All I knew was like, I need to do something. Like I need to do some like emotional CPR on me right now, because I'm hurting myself. I might potentially hurt someone else in this situation. So like in that realm, I just felt so much better and more proud of myself. And also like then in that context, in that relationship, I came back and I was like, okay, we can, because now I can just focus on what it is. It is what it is right now. I can focus on that. But I was really charged by something from my past that I really needed to address that. And so no one ever told me like, Allie, it's okay to take a break. Like usually when I grew up, it's like there was conflict. Te me quedas aquí, like you stay and you deal with this.
That's hard.
Right. And so I was like, wait, no, I can redo that. And I'm remembering that's like, there is an inner child, and then there's also adult Allie who has, the space and like the friendships to like praise this, so as you're sharing like, good job, Allie, I'm like, thanks, so thank you for praising that.
Yes, good job.
That's how you build your own self-confidence and your self-worth, is because you spend these moments impressing yourself, and you're like, oh, I did that, yes, okay, I'm doing all right here. So I think little by little, brick by brick, you kind of build your fortress, around you, and in a good way, though, in a healthy way. So
I love that.
I'm
Impress yourself. Impress yourself.
Impress yourself.
Imagine if self-care every time you did is like, oh, that's impressed. I impressed myself. How do you impress yourself?
Well, the way I dress, I feel like sometimes other women will think I'm dressing this way to like be cute for men. I'm like, no, I'm being cute for myself.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Nobody else knows if I'm wearing matching lace underwear, but I know, and it makes me feel better.
That's it.
You walk a little different too, right? You're just kind of like, you're like, okay, right?
And you step, right? Oh, don't I know it?
How about you, Siobhan?
How do you
what did
impress
I do?
yourself?
Oh gosh. Well, my impressing of myself is in slowing down sometimes, and just because I'm just constant, from the time my feet hit the floor in the morning till the time I go to bed. And so sometimes I can take a moment and just be, present and really conscious of what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, in that, it makes me feel emotionally and spiritually strong. So that's one way. I also, I don't know. like you said, getting dolled up is just really like a fun thing to do, I think, for women. And you're right. I think that society in general believes that it's for men. And what they don't realize, it's like, no, my girlfriends are going to praise me when I come in, or you know what I mean? Like we're going to hype each other up and straighten each other's crowns here. And so a lot of times it's like, no, I'm cute because I want to be cute because it feels good to me.
Because I was born cute.
That's it. How about you, Ellie?
Well, how do I impress myself? Well, when I remember things. So I'm remembering that I need to make sure everybody knows that we are on KZAA 96.5 FM LP with Ana Rosa Rizzo, with Siobhan Hoover and Ali Cortez on Que Madre radio station in partnership with Bienestar, CCC, and Warrior Mother. So thank you for listening. And I hope that you're really getting a lot from this episode that's like super, super juicy on really, the self-validation, the self-care and that self-empowerment so that we continue breaking these cycles, breaking these molds and be authentically ourselves. So how I impress myself, I think just what I described earlier, where I do things that are different, that I do things that, my mother didn't get to do, my grandma didn't get to do. That's how I impress myself. I'm like, oh, because I'm really learning that what I inherit, what my inheritance was, beautiful codes of healing and also, experiences of trauma that were not mine, but are held in my body, that are held in my system, in my nervous system. So I have both. So I try to really say like, okay, how am I going to activate the codes of healing that are really already within me? And then make sure that that's passed on stronger, that the next generation, whether it's my own children, but also, the young people that I get to connect with, that's also an inheritance for them, that they don't have to be my children, that it's how I present myself authentically, how I regulate my emotions, have compassion for my emotions and also a sense of, balance with them. Because you can't really control your emotions. When they hit. But to like honor them. And that's how I impress myself, when I can see that is being activated and it's different. I mean, I still sometimes criticize myself for that. I'm like, oh, that you're so weird, Ali, like you're so this. And then I have to reel it back in and say, but I am different because I'm doing things differently. And learning to appreciate that rather than, condemn, like be like, oh, that's ugly. Right. I just say, no, actually, that's really beautiful because it is different.
Well, we talk about it in our team group, is celebrating your uniqueness. And I soak up all my weirdness and I'm like, oh yeah, I dork out on this. And, and I think that it's
like, I want to know, what do you dork out on?
Okay. So, so my thing recently, it's been a few years, but like, I like alien documentaries.
Same. Oh my gosh.
Yes. I'm like, ooh, and where the first people came from, scientifically, and how like there are these other stories and just interesting tie-ins to different religions and and so it's like the more that I know, the more I realize I don't know a dang thing. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I'm realizing how much I don't know. So it's just interesting to dork out on all that kind of stuff, stars and planets and all that.
My physics teacher in high school said that the smartest people know how little they know, because most people, not most, but a lot of people think they know everything. And when you make that realization that it's this huge world, huge universe, and here we are, these, like individual strong, but also we don't know a lot. There's a lot left to learn and understand. And that's part of the magic of life, right? Is that every day we get to learn more.
Yes.
And that touches on the intellectual part of the self-care practices.
Ooh, smooth.
Because
Nice transition.
I noticed. I was like, oh, okay.
I'm listening.
it's very connected, but yes, and I think that feeding your brain, I mean, we all know how important that is in keeping sharp and no matter what it is that you choose to do. But I love retaining information. I love learning new things. Like I said, I'll dork out on documentaries all day. What are you guys doing intellectually to, feed the mind, feed the brain?
Well, when you were saying the intellectual part, I was thinking that maybe that's why foreplay is so important because, when you just go straight into it and it's like, oh, that was anticlimactic because you didn't have the buildup, right? So that's where my mind went. I don't know if my mind just is in the gutter, but
No, it's on
I'm
the
with you,
gutter.
girl. I'm with you.
We need to talk more about that, actually.
I know. I mean, when you're mentally stimulated, it makes for much more excitement, I think, and build up. It's like it's attractive, right? When someone can stimulate your mind in that way. I'm very, very drawn to smart men who are a genius at what they do, or what I mean, who kind of master of their craft. I really am drawn to those kind of men. Ooh, you're so smart.
It at least elicits passion. I mean, like, it's like that sazon, right? Into life, to anything. So
Right.
when you have passion, it's attractive. You're attracted to yourself. You're in flow. You're more creative.
Yes.
Like,
well, I just think there's nothing more disappointing than someone who's really attractive, but there's not much up here. I'm like, oh man.
like who? That's good.
I'm just gonna drink my coffee.
Yeah.
I was just trying to bring out some cheese, man.
Yeah. I was just trying to dig a
Ellie's
little
always trying to get the cheese.
I'm always trying to get the cheese.
here. Oh my God.
Yeah. Have you read that book, Who Moved My Cheese?
No.
No? Oh, it's a good book. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I missed the title. What was it?
Oh, Who Moved My Cheese?
Oh, okay. Mm-mm.
No? Okay. It's a good book. It's a good book. I'll just quick little line about it. It's basically about, adaptability. And then, sometimes you're like, oh, the cheese is there and everybody goes there and, but then what happens when they move the cheese, and those that adapt will thrive, or those that just get really stuck on like, nope, the cheese will come back. The cheese will come back, or get angry or just stay there, kind of just don't get to look at life a different way or explore. So it's a good book.
No, adaptability is key, especially like this week, KZAA, the radio station, went down. So we had to, realize that, well, we still want to continue to do our shows. So we recorded and we put it on YouTube, and it did actually get aired yesterday and the day before, because we're back on the air. But yeah, sometimes things will happen unexpectedly, and we just got to go with the flow and see how we can, keep writing.
Roll with the punches.
Yes. All right. So we talked on the intellectual, then there's the emotional. The emotional self-care. How do you impress yourself emotionally? How do you take care of your emotions?
It's a really good question. I mean, so I I have been guilty of like suppressing my emotions, right? If I don't feel, I can't be disappointed, I can't be hurt, I can't, feel bad. When something is uncomfortable to me, it's like, the wall goes up. Shoop, shoop, shoop. Well, over the last, I don't know, year and a half or so, I've been in therapy really trying to work at feeling all the feels and realizing I'm not going to die if I actually feel something,
But it feels like that though.
It does. It does feel like you're going to die sometimes, right? So, I don't know if you guys believe in zodiac too, but like an Aries trait is to not feel, and it's something that it was taught, in my family, like culturally, like stiff upper lip, you know, don't cry, don't show emotion. If you show emotion, then you're letting them know that you're weak. And so unlearning all of that has been, well, it's been very empowering actually. And it's been so, it's like healing, and it's allowing me to start over again with that, the emotional wheel, so to speak, and in identifying what is it that I feel right now. So in our teen group, we have a sheet, and it has all of these descriptives for our emotions. Well, I use that too. I put it up on my fridge.
Sweet.
And
I love that.
yes, because some days, it's like, I don't know what I'm feeling. And I run through the list, and then it's like, oh, well, I'm confused today. Or, you know what I mean? And it's, emotionally, it's been very hard to do. But it's because of all the things that I was taught in my family that is like, be hard. So I'm trying to like come into my softness and really just embrace that feminine energy, and allow the like masculine vibes to just be kind of like, all right, chill out on this side a little bit, because I need to even out here, and so again, just being mindful of these kind of things is really the key to helping me out right now.
Amen.
So
Amen.
yeah.
I love that. How do you, Ana Rosa Rizzo? I love saying Ana Rosa Rizzo.
I know. It like rolls well.
I know. Ana Rosa Rizzo. Ana Rosa Rizzo.
Oh my God, Allie. Well, just realizing that we each have the masculine and the feminine actually has been really important, because it made me realize how much this world makes us lean on the masculine side of things, in order to appear strong and to function, in professional spaces. And I hate that word, by the way, professional, because I think it really negates a lot of the experiences that we come to places with. Like, hell yeah, I'm going to wear my hoops no matter what meeting I'm entering. I'm going to wear the red lips. So if you don't like that, I don't care, but it's just now recognizing patterns that certain traumatic experiences have locked me into, and realizing in the moment, this is not you, this is the pattern. And just even like saying that to myself. And I apologize about my phone, but it's crazy and I can't put it on silent no matter what I do. So sorry about the beeping, but just like reminding myself that I have the ability to switch directions and I don't have to continue the pattern is really important emotionally.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's really powerful. That's really powerful. You reminded me of, so when I started being the executive director for one of the nonprofits here, well, it was a different point of view. And I was given the advice, it's like, don't wear lipstick, don't wear hoop earrings. Like basically it was like, water yourself down, that was a recommendation. It was advice. And
did that come from a man or a woman?
It came from a woman. Yeah, because it was like, you're going to, and I did ask why. I was like, why? And I was still, younger. I was younger in that it was the first time that I was really launching myself as a leader, like for myself, like to officially under a title as executive director. So I was in that time really green and very open to the advice of a lot of people. So I think that might be something when it comes to like the emotional part of self-care, is to like, just, people will always give their opinions and their advice. And a lot of times it really come from a kind place from them. Like they're trying to protect you. That's what later, after I processed that, it's like, they were trying to protect me because, that was where they were coming from. But it actually ended up hurting me for some time, that I watered myself down and I was so scared to be myself, because myself was actually going to hurt a whole organization. Like if I showed up to donors and came across as Alejandra, like rather than Alejandra, right? Like there's a difference, that was going to hurt the chances of helping my community,
Ugh.
helping the kids that I really wanted to serve, that I wasn't going to get the resources.
Oh my
Right.
gosh,
So it's
yeah.
like that message was very, very damaging for a while. And I didn't understand, but I did it because I didn't understand the system. So that's why I think, like when you acknowledge your emotions and process them and under, like, because I always felt it. I always felt it, my gut feeling. I'm like, doesn't feel right, like to water myself down so much and present completely inauthentically. And then then that's where I came at, like, I was inauthentic. I felt like I wasn't being honest, although I was. And then just the self-criticism increased. So when I honored my emotions and I was like, wait, no, let me rethink this over. Let me get some other advice, because I listened to the gut feeling. I think that was for me, like how I impressed myself in that section of being like taking care of my emotions. Like, wait a minute, there's feelings and then there's like a gut, there's like your intuition, and there's a difference. Feelings will come and go, but your intuition is like a cluster of feelings, but they're really connected to like the wisdom within you, and it's going to linger. They're going to stay. They're going to really like center and be like, you really need to listen to this because this is hurting you. So I think that's how when you said that, that really brought back that memory.
Yeah.
These
And the thing is-
nonprofits. These
What's that?
nonprofits. No, I was
I
just gonna
know.
say it pisses me off because they come looking for us, right? And then, like in my interview, I was very straightforward on my philosophy and the way I am. And then once you get the job, it's like, yeah, we're so happy, woman of color, ED. And then the moment that you try to exert your leadership, they're like, oh no, that's too much, be quiet. Calladita te ves más bonita.
Yes. Yeah. Which is like so important. I want to burn it all down. We're going to burn it all down. We're going to restructure it all. Yeah, I know. I was telling Allie, there's this.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of
I
joy.
Burn, baby, burn.
Yes.
It's like,
Yeah.
Well, because we're going to replace it with more beautiful
exactly.
things.
That's
But
the like.
But that's it. And so sometimes, the things need to be burnt down in order for things to regrow. And,
Can I share something about that?
yeah,
I've come to terms with that it's like when things feel like they're falling apart, they're falling into place.
yes,
Right. So like it feels like that, but it's actually, you're making for a better system, for a better outcome, better results.
and sometimes we don't see it, and the growth is really slow. But as long as there is progress in one way or another, I feel like that's like it's okay. Not everything's at our own pace, but yeah, we don't realize a lot of times or see that. You're kind of like your blessing's coming, but you're gonna have to walk through some fire first. Oh, anyway.
Before we get to the S of the acronym, just in that emotional part, I just really want to check in on that feeling like you're gonna die. Like that's because if you've ever had a panic attack or an anxiety attack, like it literally feels like you're gonna die. So are there any tools that we have to help in those moments where like the feelings are coming and it's really hard? That way we can use those tools to be able to feel what we need to feel.
The tools that I use, well, I have the essential oils, and so I'm like oily, and it's interesting. I was at a funeral, and it was a friend from high school, and his daughter was very, very upset, and she was kind of like starting to breathe like she was having a panic attack at the funeral. And I kind of like walked close to her, and then I have a roller. It's called Stress Relief, but it's lavender with like just a little bit of peppermint. And so I kind of like put it on. And then if I put it on, everybody that's within, I don't know, 6 to 10 feet, they're going to smell it. So it was kind of like, I did that. And then I kind of looked at her and I was like, just take a really deep breath right now. And she did. And then she was just kind of like, oh my God, what is that? She's like, what is that smell? And I'm like, yeah, it's a little essential oils. And I was like, did it help? And she's like, yeah, it did. Thank you so much. Like I felt like I was about to die. And I'm like, I know. So in my own practices, you know, and even with my children, with my friends, anybody who's having just these really heavy emotions that are feeling uncontrolled, a lot of times it's breathe this in. And so coupling the essential oil, because the lavender is going to trigger, you know, the calm, the relaxing in the brain. But the breathing itself is what is most powerful, I think. And just kind of resetting your system and forcing your mind to stop for a moment and just focus on the breathing. It kind of takes your mind away from the actual like attack. So that's something that I have used in the past. And then also, you know, on the other side of it, because I believe in balance, you know, putting on the boxing gloves and going at the bag and, you know, hitting something again, just something to release that energy somehow.
So that it doesn't stay in your body.
Yeah, you don't want that stagnant energy in your body. So, and crying can be very therapeutic. We all know that water cleanses. And
I did that on the last episode.
Oh, did you? A little rewind for you guys.
It was Olympia. It's Olympia.
Yes,
Sometimes our body does that.
absolutely. So, you know, those are some of the tools that I would say are most important to me, and for it's going to look different for everybody. Maybe sometimes you know, dance it out or something, you know, that could be.
I'm a fan of that one.
Yeah. Sounds like a dance party.
What's your favorite song to dance to?
Ooh, that's a hard one. It depends on what style, because I'm a swing dancer, but then I'll also get down to hip hop and other
Okay,
things. So.
which was your favorite hip hop song to dance to?
To dance to, oh my gosh, that's a lot of pressure. One song.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. But on the breath, I just always trip out on how important breath is and breathing. Because I think people take it for granted, like, yeah, you breathe all the time. And actually for me, I realize when I'm going through PTSD and different things, I realize that I'll be holding my breath for extended periods of time. I'll be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I was doing that. But then I have to catch my breath and almost try to not hyperventilate.
Yeah, and it's funny when people work out too, you know, because when I'm training, you can see it in people. They're all tense and their shoulders are built up here, and I'm like, breathe, and they're like, oh yeah, I forgot, you know. And it's true. I think we do that naturally. For I don't know what the reflex is about that, but the more oxygen you can get to your body, I feel like is way more helpful. But here we go with the mindfulness, you know, being mindful of how you're breathing is like, it's key in that. So even at night when people are having trouble falling asleep, I have the 4-7-8, you know, or what is it? Yeah, 4-7-8 breathing. You breathe in for 4 counts, you hold for 7, and you release for 8. And for whatever reason, this helps me sleep. Fall asleep.
Yeah. Well, you said something that's really important too about like panic attacks, that you know, it's like getting out of your mind, because it's like basically what triggers a panic attack is like just like like certain ruminating thoughts that activate your threat response, but then it's like it's on hyperdrive where it's like it just completely takes control, because it kind of like your body wants you to shut down. So if you hyperventilate, you will, you know, kind of shut down. So it's not that's why it feels like you're dying, because your body's like, we need a whole reset. So you've been in like constant like stress and a threat response for so long that your body's like, we cannot do this anymore. We can't sustain this anymore. So it'll hit the panic button and then like kind of want to do a reset. So people have, you know, fainted from panic attacks. And so
I have.
Yeah. And that's why they're so scary, because like I used to suffer from panic attacks. I would get them like 3 times a day, you know, and it was just getting to a point where it's like, why would I want to wake up the next day feeling like I'm going to die 3 times a day, you know? So in that work, I know that some of the techniques, I kind of want to like, what is a panic attack? So knowing that's like, okay, so your body's trying to reset it. It's trying to help you. It's trying to get you to a place where you're like recalibrate, but it feels really unpleasant. So if you kind of just like kind of ride it out, knowing that panic attacks will not last longer than 20 minutes. Yes, they can happen again, but that information alone, it's like, if you're already in the midst of a panic attack, you kind of just you guys just like, okay, we're going to have to ride this out, cry it out, let it out, you know, find some safety in regards like the people around you, or sit down if you're having one. Make sure that maybe you're in an open space, like just kind of all of a sudden just starting to look at your surroundings. And if you're with somebody, or if you encounter someone that's having a panic attack, if you know, trying to see if you can kind of grasp some permission to put your hand on their belly, right? That, for example, if I'm having a panic attack and Anna's with me, she may want to grab my hand if we already have that we already have an agreement ahead of time, and she will show me physically how she's breathing. So we're like, she'll show me how to co-regulate, and then that's going to send us a different response to my body, saying like, one, I'm with someone safe. Two, it's going to get me out of my own, like, oh my God, I can't breathe, I'm dying, into somebody else's thoughts. I'm connecting like, oh, I can breathe because she's breathing. And that hand gesture of her belly coming up and down will like tell my body to like, this is how we're going to breathe. So we do it together, right? That's if you're with somebody that, you know, knows how to do that. But it's a good way to also know that, like, in case you encounter someone who is having a panic attack, that, you know, it's about like that co-regulation. It's about psychological safety, and just, you know, creating a realm of like, okay, they only last for 20 minutes at the most. And if you can say that to somebody, if they're having a panic attack, so they can hear you, like, it's going to last 20 minutes. You're not going to die, like that. Like, it's because when you're in, you can't, you know, your thought process is everywhere. So if you hear a voice in the distance, like, this too shall pass, it's like, okay, we're going to have to write it out. And I'm not going to write it out by myself.
That's so interesting, because like with labor, every contraction doesn't last more than a minute. So at least, you know, even if this feels really intense, it's going to be over in a minute, and it allows you to breathe into it so that you can get to the next contraction and be able to get through labor.
Longest minute of your life.
So I'm going to do a little commercial for hypnobirthing, because I did hypnobirthing for my second daughter. And I felt no pain throughout the whole birth. I felt pressure when I was pushing her out, but that was it. So
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Say more.
That's incredible. Well, shoot, I have to read more about that.
Yeah.
But you know,
Like, I'll have another baby. I'm fine.
Oh, hey. I know. I would have had all kinds of them, you know, if I could have. But you know, and in tying that all in, Allie, and being there with somebody safe, that kind of touches on the social aspect of the self-care that I did. And
she's so smooth.
so the two S's are
Did Sade write Smooth Operator about you?
I'm taking your cues.
I'm cheesy AF.
Yeah.
Like cheese.
Love it. Yeah, and I love cheesy jokes too. Yeah, one of the cheesy jokes that I heard recently was, why do Latinas like cheese
All the time?
so much? Why do they like it so much?
Oh, why?
Yeah.
Because it's Gouda? I don't know.
You ready for it? Porque son chismosas.
I love it.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, and so the social aspect of self-care, you know, relates to having, you know, social interactions with people that you feel safe with. And so whether that be, you know, friends, family, you know, your work colleagues, whatever it is, getting together and laughing, getting together and dorking out on documentaries. I know a lot of our social gatherings are surrounding food, you know, and eating and breaking bread and kind of, you know, partaking in each other's company. is really healing. So a lot of times if you're going through something, you want to stay at home, you want to be in your bed, you don't want to talk to anybody. But a really important thing is to like, get up and try to be in the company of people who you can trust and who you feel safe with.
Mm.
And so I feel that, having these sister friends that I surround myself with it's like key to my happiness and well-being. It's, I'm running all day, every day on work and children and, house responsibilities and whatnot. And taking that time out to go have some wine with my girls, it is like, oh, this is what I need in life. We've been doing a Sunday brunch with a group of my friends, and I got to tell you, it is the most fun thing that I do in my week, because we sit there, we laugh, everybody's going through things, but the whole mood of the day is just, it's happy, and it's happy because we're in each other's company. So I can't stress enough the importance of having, a solid, social gathering of some sort, if you can,
Yeah.
regularly.
We need fun in our lives.
There's a woman named Beatrice Camayo. She has a podcast called The Self-Love Fix. And she was sharing in her last episode that she went through a suicidal episode, and that during that time, it was really important for her, because she normally lives by herself. It was really important for her to, during that time, go and live with her aunt so that she was around other people. Because that social component was super important for her to feel like there was something worth staying around for, so, for some people, family is not loving and is actually triggering. So it has to be someone that is actually good for you and not triggering for you. But that's a big thing, is to surround yourself with people that feel good to you.
I was like, we didn't get to choose our family, but we can choose our other family, which is our friends. It's that, the other F that you get to choose. And, sometimes you bring in people and it's wonderful. And sometimes you're like, oh, start noticing some red flags, and, they can exit. That's the beautiful thing about friendships, and then when you find that core, it's like, stay together, have them be your chicles.
Yes.
Fun ways to do the brunches, to do the shows together, to el convivo, just convivo, like live collectively with people that heal you, and that, it's that reciprocation of, good vibes, fun, someone that's aware, like, hey, you're not, what's up? Something's up, that's beautiful, and people witnessing you.
Yeah, definitely. I just am feeling really blessed to be friends with both of you and to have the show to, look forward to on a weekly basis, because it's been rough, but this is like one of the bright spots for me as well. Since you were sharing the brunch, I'm going to share that this show is a bright spot for me as well.
Well, thank you for creating the foundation. Now, you and Jess created an amazing foundation for this radio station. So I feel blessed to be, aligned and joining this. It's amazing. Yeah.
Me as well. I feel very honored that you guys invited me back. So, yeah, really just grateful, grateful for you too, for sure.
Yeah, and this is a good time to announce, I think we alluded to it before, but Siobhan is officially our third co-host, co-hostess with the mostest. So you'll be seeing her a lot.
You'll be sick of me and my opinions.
This world needs a lot more of Siobhan. So yes, we're so grateful you're on with us, and that and taking this time to also, we are on KZAA 96.5 FM LP on Madre radio station in partnership with Bienestar, CCC, and Warrior Mother. So thank you for listening. We're so grateful that you're here, and we're all just passing on good vibes. That's what we're all about.
That's
and
it.
Now it's time for the last S, because we got to wrap up.
Yes. So spirituality, spiritual connection, and whatever that means for you. So that can mean, if you're religious, that can be that. If you are just spiritual in general and you like to connect with the earth and, um, perhaps it might mean sex, this spiritual connection that you might feel with someone else. And so whatever that means for you, understanding that, we are a soul within this human experience, and how, and accepting of that is really important. I know that there are so many theories and ideas about us and the energy that we have, but in any case, just the spiritual connection of any kind, it's really important for our entire being.
Yes.
Your ideas around that?
Yeah, I mean, so you know,
there's a lot.
if you have a connection to, your indigenous lineage, I know for some of us, like burning sage is really powerful, as well as copal. Those are two things that for me will instantly help me connect to my ancestors and feel like I'm not by myself. And I don't know how many of you all watch Reservation Dogs, but the last episode, there was this scene where an elder was praying with one of the main characters. And in that moment, you could see all of this person's ancestors behind her while she was praying. And that's the power that we carry, right? And it's crazy because that scene helped me so much, because that day that I watched it, I was super stressed out about all these deadlines that I had the next day. And I was like, there's no way I can do it. And then when I saw that, I was like, but I'm not doing this by myself. Like, I have all of these ancestors, rooting for me and praying for me. And the next day I got everything done that I needed to get done. And I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah. I attended a sound bath in the salt caves here in Santa Barbara. And it was an incredible experience. I really left there just feeling really, I don't know, cleansed. But afterwards, I thanked one of the gentlemen for, for his time and for leading it. And he said, "Oh," and he was like, "Sister," he said, "Did you feel that?" And I know, because he sat above me. He's like walking around the room. He sat above me for a little bit, and he said, "Oh," he said, "you had your ancestors." He said, "They were swirling like," he said, "you've got some power behind you." And he goes, "And I just want to pass that along to you." He's like, "I could see it so clearly." He said, "They came in real strong for you." And he said, "So I want you to know that how much you're loved and how much you're supported, and you're not alone." And in that moment, the reason why I went there is because I was feeling overwhelmed, alone, scared. I had all of these, negative thoughts with me as I entered. And when I left, all of that was gone.
Wow.
So,
Wow, that's powerful.
so many tools out there, that you can use. But another thing I was going to mention, I love crystals, and I dork out on them because everything has a vibration, everything has energy. And so we are experiencing, this vibration or energy from these different stones, and it's like, how can this be, but it's all stardust and magic. And so it's something that I kind of I use as a tool to kind of like, okay, well, this stone has this type of vibration. If you have trouble falling asleep, there are different tones that you can listen to because of the vibration. It's supposed to help you sleep. So, the energy, the vibes, all of that is very real to me. And again, just something that you can use, to help cope with whatever it is.
Oh, definitely. Crystals are the flowers of the ground, and like, just like with flowers, you can use them for teas and, really take the nutrition. The same thing with crystals. They just sprouted up from the ground. Like, it's like amazing. And they're just really bringing that frequency. And I feel like spirituality is is that it's a reminder that's like that you belong, that no matter where you are, like let's say you're far away, as an immigrant from Mexico, it's like no matter where I'm at, I belong. I belong to this world. I belong in this place and time. I am loved. And I think that's what spirituality brings, especially when maybe the surroundings, the environment, or your own mind is not letting you feel that peace. That when you go into spirituality, it kind of takes you to another place of just like something bigger than this world, bigger than anything that that it sees further than what you can see. And so it kind of takes you to a place of you belong, you are loved, and you are here. So go fulfill your purpose. Go do what you got to do.
One little thing that I do is I have a heart-shaped rose quartz stone. And whenever it's a full moon, I leave it outside to charge overnight. And then I hold it to my heart the next day to like fill me up with those good vibes. And then I put it on my daughter's altar, Adelita, who passed on. And we just kind of have that exchange every month with the full moons.
Oh, I love that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I have a bunch of them. I got a lot of them here. And the kids will help me. I'll be like, it's a full moon. We got to take them all outside. They're like, oh, yeah.
Yo, I have one that's this big. Like you have to, it's super heavy. My husband jokes with me. He's like, that's a salt lick. That's not really rose quartz. I'm like, no, it's really rose quartz. Stop being a jerk.
No sabes nada.
You put them in your bra, like especially with the rose quartz, because you want to keep it close to your heart.
Mhm.
I usually just tuck them, and I've been known to be like at the gym and do something or jump and then like rock flying out, and everybody's like, oh, don't mind me.
I knew it. She was made out of crystals.
Yeah, so I know.
Oh my gosh. Well,
that's the nice thing with being well endowed is that you can hide stuff in there and nobody can tell.
Nobody knows. Yeah, nobody knows.
No knows until it jumps out when you're working out.
Figure out like, why is my purse so heavy? Oh, there's a bunch of stuff.
Well, I hate to be that person, but it looks like we are going to be wrapping up our episode because it's so good, and I can't wait for our next episode. That will be airing out soon. So I just wanted to bring it to a full circle and just say how much I love you girls. I love all of you who are listening to us or watching us on YouTube. There's more of this to come, and I'm so excited for the next episode.
Every Thursday at 6 p.m. you'll be with Siobhan Hoover, Ali Cortez, and Ana Rosa Rizzo Centino. Thanks for listening.